guys, today we have a new watch to take a look at, and it's none other than the GA2110SU, or the Casio. Now, this watch is special enough to get a nickname from the community about a year and a half ago when it came out. And I've had my eye on this for almost more than a year now. And I wanted the triple black colorway, like many of you have had your eyes on. However, experiencing that watch in person, I found it to be a little bit difficult to read the time, being that everything is just blacked out. So I waited, and when this colorway dropped, I immediately hopped onto it. Now, there are 4 colorways that dropped this year, that we have the black and yellow bumblebee, the triple red, the camo, and also this one right here, which is the olive black green, or olive case black bezel variant, which happens to be the one that I picked up. Now, I've had this watch for 2 weeks, and I just want to share my user experience with you guys. For some of you who are still holding out and wanting to pick up this watch, maybe this will help you out.
I really do think this is going to be a future classic watch, and that's given the fact that the way that Casio designed this watch is really quite different with technology in mind. And I'm talking about that carbon core guard technology, which we'll get into later. But let's get over into the durability component. This watch does feature a mineral glass crystal, and it is about 200 meter water resistant too. And that is something that I really quite enjoy. The overall case design and case shape is something that reminds you that this is going to be an everyday wear ani-digi type of watch, and I've come to appreciate that a lot. Now, speaking of the module that's used here, the caliber 5611 can be found inside. Now, that caliber 5611 will feature a world timer function, countdown timer, stopwatch functionality, and it also has a day and date indicator too. This is a value-packed watch at under $150. We can't talk about this watch without mentioning the overall case dimensions, and the mid case is about 11.8 millimeters in depth. Really nice thickness. Can't preach that enough because it's one of the strongest points of this watch. The buttons are easy to press, unlike the G-Shock Square, which are more recessed inwards. The strap tapers just enough for comfort, and look at all those micro adjustments. You really can get a nice fit from this watch. The resin that's used on this watch is something of high quality. It's much softer than the G-Shock Square in my experience. You're getting a very simple strap here with a traditional buckle that you would find on other G-Shocks, so nothing new here. But I do like those divots that they have on those strap right there. It kind of reminds me of the G-Shock Square being in the same family. And the carbon core guard technology is basically just multiple fibers woven together to form a strong core that provides this watch with its shock-proof resistance. And speaking of being a little bit different, you'll notice that Casio included quick release pins here. I really do feel like Casio had the customization factor in mind for us customers here when they released this watch. I'm excited to see what they do with this. Let's talk about wearability on the wrist. Now, I have about a 6¼ inch wrist, and this watch has 48.4 millimeters lug-to-lug dimensions, and it wears nicely because of that thin case. The way the lugs taper downwards is far more ergonomic than the G-Shock Square. I find that this watch will wear a lot more flatter. There's no awkward spaces in between your wrist, unlike the G-Shock Square in my experience. Now, I, for one, really think that if you have a wrist as small as 5.8 inches, you'll be able to wear this watch no problem, all the way up to 7 inches. Keeping in mind that being an ani-digi watch, it can wear a little bit larger, that can be forgiven, just because of how lightweight and usable this watch is.
Let's talk about some final impressions and my thoughts on this watch. Now, having worn it for 2 weeks, I've really enjoyed my time with it. I've almost nearly forgotten it's on my wrist because of how lightweight it is, and that's thanks to the carbon core guard technology that Casio has employed here. And I find that it's really quite cool because you are able to make out some of the details of the carbon fibers that are inlaid in the core itself. So if you take a look carefully, you might be able to see it. Another thing that I really quite enjoy about this is just the kind of set it and forget it mentality of this watch. Now, it's something that I can wear around the house without worrying about beating up too bad, something that I can also wear to the gym and really put in some effort and not feel bad about wearing this watch and washing it off right afterwards. So strong points to that. It still functions like every other G-Shock. So for the person who's been hesitant to get into their first G-Shock, this might be a good way to take a intro into Casio, or the G-Shock lineup rather. Now, the other thing is the wearability factor. Even though it's 45 millimeters in diameter, to me it wears more like a 42. And that's in part due to the lugs and how the strap attaches to the case. So the lug-to-lug length is about 48 millimeters, but because you don't have lugs that stick out too far, it hugs the wrist a little bit flatter and nicer. So that is a huge, huge benefit that I enjoy from this watch. Another thing that I really quite enjoy is the aesthetics. This is such a cool looking oddball watch, guys. Like, I know that it's special enough to get the nickname the Casio because it looks like the Royal Oak, but in some ways it has its own identity. With that LCD module cut away like a utility blade, there's nothing like it. And if you take a look at the left-hand side there with that day indicator, it almost looks like a spaceship. It's wild to see. The hands are broad and pronounced, and they really draw your eyes in. The way that the dial has been stepped downwards with those hour indices matching the case is a really special and nice touch as well. This is a much more high quality watch than that 130 price tag would let you believe. So high points in that regard. Now, what are some things that hold this watch back? First of all, it does have a mineral crystal. So it's not going to be as durable as your regular sapphire crystal that you might see on your higher end watches. Keep in mind, this is a $130 watch. The other thing is that a lot of people have noted the legibility of that LCD module being a negative display is a bit of a sore point. So if you're looking to check the time or the seconds or use it as a stopwatch, you might struggle a little bit when you try to read this in suboptimal lighting conditions. On a bright day, no problem. But in anything less than a bright day, it might be a problem for you guys. Another thing is that a lot of people wished that they had fully loomed the hour indices on the dial, and I do agree with that sentiment. Only the hands are loomed here. I wish Casio would give us that. Even though they gave us an LED module here. Oh gosh, the button's right here. There we go. It's a double LED module. It's still not good enough for me, because one part is that you can't hold the LED module and light up the whole entire screen like you could do in previous G-Shock squares. So that's a bit of a disappointment for me. It's not the EL backlight that we know and love, but Casio has been slowly moving away from that. So those are some of the cons that really hold this watch back for me. Let me know what you guys think overall about this watch. Leave a comment, and definitely if you like the video, like the video. And if you want to see more watch content from me, please consider subscribing. I'll be putting up more watch content here on out here. And I know some of you guys said that you don't like the background music that I use because it's a little bit too overbearing or loud. And then on the other side, some of you really love it. Still trying to find my style as to what works best, so please bear with me, guys. Anyways, on that note, I'll show you the Loom, and I will definitely catch you in the next one.
So here is the Loom on the Casio. As you can tell, only the hands are loomed up, and that's about the extent of the Loom. Wish that there was more that lit up on this dial, but you do get a nice light module, which I'll try to activate here for you guys. That's about it. I wish it stayed lit up when you held the button like prior G-Shocks, but that's not the case here. However, still doesn't diminish from the watch, especially at the price point of under $150. I'd say it's still a pretty amazing buy if you can get one.